October 28, 1943. The docks of Philadelphia Naval Shipyard hum with tension. Engineers, officers, and a handful of civilians gather near a destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge. The ship's mission is top secret, its purpose, to make history. The US Navy was experimenting with a radical new technology, a project rumored to render ships invisible to radar using electromagnetic fields. But what happened next became one of the most haunting military legends of the 20th century. Witnesses reported seeing a strange green mist envelop the ship. A loud humming filled the air, and then the USS Eldridge vanished. Seconds? Minutes? Nobody could tell. When it reappeared, miles away near Norfolk, Virginia, some crewmen were missing. Others were said to be fused into the steel of the ship itself. And the survivors spoke of madness. Was this a secret military test gone wrong? Or did the US Navy accidentally tear a hole in space-time? The story of the Philadelphia experiment first came to light in the 1950s when a man named Carl M. Allen, also known as Carlos Allende, sent letters to Dr. Morris Jessup, an astrophysicist and UFO researcher. In his letters, Allende described what he claimed to have witnessed from another ship nearby, the SS Andrew Furuseth. He said he saw the USS Eldridge disappear in a flash of blue light, leaving behind nothing but a magnetic fog. Jessup, fascinated, began investigating. Soon after, he received a mysterious copy of his own book, The Case for the UFO, filled with handwritten notes from unknown authors. These notes discussed advanced alien technologies, anti-gravity, and magnetic invisibility. The Navy later confirmed they had received that same annotated book, but instead of debunking the story, their involvement only made it more mysterious. Why would the Navy take interest in a hoax? Why were key documents suddenly classified? And why did witnesses connected to the event vanish or refuse to speak? To understand the Philadelphia experiment, we have to look at the science, or the attempt at science, that supposedly fueled it. The official claim? The Navy was exploring electromagnetic field manipulation to make ships invisible to radar. This part is true. It was called Project Rainbow, a real code name for early radar stealth research. The idea was that by wrapping a ship in powerful electromagnetic coils and pulsing them with current, the magnetic signature could be disrupted, making radar waves bend around it. But according to Allende, the experiment went far beyond radar invisibility. He claimed the magnetic fields became so intense that they warped space and time around the vessel. Crew members allegedly saw the stars bend and the ocean shimmer. Some claimed they were floating. And then, total blackout. If true, it would mean that the Eldridge achieved something that modern physics still struggles to explain: electromagnetic spacetime distortion. In simple terms, teleportation. As the years went on, more stories surfaced, each more chilling than the last. Former sailors claimed that after the test, crewmen suffered bizarre after effects, severe disorientation, memory loss, and the most disturbing of all, spontaneous phase shifting. Witnesses said that some sailors would vanish into thin air, only to reappear moments later, screaming, with parts of their bodies out of sync with reality. One account told of a sailor who reached for a drink in a bar, and his hand simply disappeared. In 1955, a supposed survivor known only as JP told a journalist that he watched several shipmates fuse with bulkheads. Their bodies literally merged into metal after the experiment. If that's true, it suggests the magnetic field destabilized the atomic structure of matter itself. But here's the problem. There are no official Navy records of the USS Eldridge ever being in Philadelphia that day. In fact, logs show it was docked in New York, hundreds of miles away. So what's the truth? Were the records faked to hide something? Or did the entire event exist only in rumor? In the 1980s, the story gained new life. A man named Al Bielik came forward, claiming he had been aboard the Eldridge, and that he not only witnessed the experiment, he time-traveled because of it. According to Bielik, the ship's field generated a temporal vortex. He and his brother jumped overboard, and instead of hitting the ocean, they landed in the year 2137. He claimed they later traveled even further to 2749, where they saw floating cities and advanced civilizations. It sounded insane, and yet people listened. At the same time, physicists revisited old theories like Einstein's unified field theory, a concept suggesting gravity and electromagnetism could be connected. If you could manipulate one, perhaps you could distort the other, bending space and time. The Philadelphia experiment, if real, might have been an early, uncontrolled test of such a phenomenon. Even more intriguing, some researchers believe it may have been linked to the Montauk Project, another alleged military program involving mind control and teleportation in the 1970s. If true, the Philadelphia experiment could have been the prototype, the origin of a shadowy series of time experiments. Still, skeptics point out inconsistencies. The USS Eldridge's deck logs contradict the story. No official documents mention Project Rainbow in this context, and Carl Allen's mental health was later called into question. Yet the mystery persists. Why did multiple independent witnesses describe the same luminous mist and sudden disappearance? And why does the US Navy still classify large portions of its WTWIS electromagnetic research? Today, more than 80 years later, the Philadelphia experiment stands at the crossroads of fact and legend. To some, it's the greatest military hoax ever told, a case of misinformation and paranoia mixed with Cold War secrecy. To others, it's the first glimpse into a hidden era of experimental physics when human ambition brushed against forces we barely understand. Whether you believe it or not, one truth remains. Every great myth begins with a spark of possibility, and maybe, just maybe, one October morning in 1943, in a cloud of electromagnetic fog, that spark became real. The sea swallowed the truth, the Navy buried the evidence, and the witnesses carried the fear to their graves. But the echoes remain. Each rumor, each document, each whispered warning reminds us of the same terrifying question. What if they actually succeeded? What if a warship really did disappear? And if so, where did it go?